Right, welcome to another video. In this video we will add avatar to the users or doctor's profile so they can change their profile picture or avatar from their profiles settings. If they can, for example, if I choose a new image and then save it, right, you can see that the picture is now changed, and then if I go to the home page, the doctor's avatar is now changed. So we will implement this feature in this video. So let's start. Before starting, if you are not subscribed my channel, please subscribe. So we will use the active storage to store our images, and let's go to the terminal and run rails active storage :install. It will create a new table that is polymorphic, so multiple models can store their images or assets in that table. So let's save and run this command. You can see that it created a migration. Let's look on to this migration, and then you can see that it added this key, file name, content type, metadata. So these are the blobs. So it created these some of the tables to configure this active storage. So let's run rails db migrate. Okay, let's start the server again. We can run bin dev, and then let's go to the user.rb file, and then here we have to actually add a method. For example, you can see that previously we have added has one attached. This is the method that is provided by active storage, and then here we can give the name that we want to set. For example, you want to set photo or avatar, right? So we will use this avatar name, and then let's go back and go back to our this application that we are developing and refresh. So currently no avatar is there, and let's go to the profile. Currently we don't have the profile tab. Let's add that one, and we can actually remove these two buttons, because when the user is signed in, then we don't need to show them. Otherwise, when the user is not signed in, then we can show these two buttons, because based on that they can either choose sign in or sign up. So let's sign in first. So I am logged in, but these buttons are still appear. So let's go to our nav bar, and then here we can actually check if not user underscore signed in. This is the method that is provided by device, so we can use that one. And now if I refresh, you can see that the buttons are now gone because the user is now signed in. And then we can actually now check else, or we can actually check here if the user is signed in, then show the profile tab, otherwise show these links. So here we can actually show the link to, and then the title is profile, and the path would be, we have to add a new route. If we go to our routes.rb file, and then resources users, let's add a new route, and then in the resources let's add a new block, and then we can add a member route, because we have to show the profile for a specific user that is currently logged in. So we can member do, add a route of type member, and then the member we can add get, and then profile. So this will let's map that to the users and then hash profile method. So let's go back here and check which routes are added. So let's stop the server here and cd into doctor patients, and then let's check the Rails routes. And then we can only select because there are a lot of routes, then let's select only profile route. We can grep and then profile. If I hit enter, okay, you can see that we got this route /users, and then here we have to pass the id and then /profile. So we can actually copy this helper method and use that one. If we go back to the navbar and let's add this helper method and pass the current user dot id, right? And then let's add a class of nav-link, and then let's add class of active as well. If we go back and refresh, you can see that the profile tab is now added. If I click on it, so the profile action is not there, we have to add that one. Let's go to the users controller and then let's add a profile. Okay, in the profile let's find the user by the id first, so it would be doctor, and then user dot find params of id. So here you can see that this line is same on both the in both methods. So let's remove the first one and let's create a new method, and we can add a method of find doctor, and let's move this line, cut it from here and paste it here, and also remove from here, and then add a callback before action. So before each action let's call this method. So before action let's find a doctor, right? And we have to find this method, call this method before show and profile. So we can add a specify the configuration. Here we can show and then profile, right? And then if I refresh here, you can see that now the template is missing. If we go back to our users and then add a profile.html.erb, right? And then here just I can now print doctor.name just to show you. If I refresh, you can see that now the profile is working, the tab is working. I can go back and then click on the profile. The current user that is logged in, his name is showing. So now let's go back here and add a container, or we are going to actually develop the other one. So let me actually run the project for the reference. Okay, so if I refresh, so we are going to actually made this part. So in the code side, let's add a class of container, right? And then here we can pass div class is equal to row, right? And in the row let's add a class of div class of call-12, right? And then here let's add a one div class with the name of doctor. We can later on we will use this class to style and access this div with the JavaScript. So here we will add this image tag. In the image tag we have to actually doctor.avatar that we added in the model or user.rb. Here we added this avatar. If I go back in the terminal and I can show you user.last.avatar, we can call this method on the user object. Here you can see that it returned that active storage, and this is the object on which we try to find the avatar. Let's check if it is present. So the avatar is not present, so we can actually check here doctor.avatar.present, right? If present, then show the avatar here, otherwise show the only empty, right? And then we can also style this one. We can set the width to 70 pixels, and then height is also 70 pixels, and then add a border dash radius, and radius should be 50%. Right, so if we go back and refresh, so you can see that currently no image is attached, but it is, you can see it is 50% rounded, and we can also set the default image. So let's add a default image here. Let's close that one, and then if I copy this default image and then paste it in the assets images, and then drop it here, right? And then here we can actually use that image, that is default.png, right? And then if we go back and refresh, so the default image is being shown, right? And then here we have to add a button, this one, choose image button, and let's go back here, and then here we can add input type is equal to button. So we have to actually make this in the form, so let's add a form, wrap it all of it in a form. In this container we can move this form underscore for, and then we can pass the current user, and then let's set the configuration as user, and then we can set the URL on which this form would be submitted. Let's save it, the URL should be, let's add a new URL in our routes. Okay, and then go back to our routes.rb file, and then here this would be also a member route, but this would be a post because the form sends the post request, and here we can set the save dash information or save info, and then map it into the users controller and then save info method, right? So let's check the helper method that is created on this route. So we can exit this terminal and run rails routes and then grep save info, not info but save info, right? So we got this helper method. Let's copy it and use that one, underscore path, and it takes an ID of the user, that would be current user ID, right? So yeah, and then we have to pass get the form object and move it in, indent it, and then end this form, and then we have to make a new field. Let's add a one field of for example f dot file field, and file field is avatar on. So yeah, let's save that, and let's add go back to the browser and refresh. So that is gone. Let's see why. If we go back to the browser and inspect, so in the container we have to actually make it this equal to sign, otherwise this will not be visible and HTML is not rendered. So if I refresh, you can see that we have now this file choose file button, but we can actually hide it and add our own custom button. For example, if I click choose file and select this image, you can see that it shows the file name, but here we have only this custom button, and based on this custom button we will set the file in this field. So let's hide this button and f.file field and then avatar, and then add a class of d-none, right? And then also add an ID that is selected file or selected avatar, right? And then here you can also see that if I choose an image and if I select this image, it appears right away so the user can see that this image is changed, but it will save when the user will save the form. This is only to show the user that you select this image. So let's add that feature, and here we can add a on change event, right? And then call a method of read URL, and then here we have to pass this current element. So based on that we can set the value, and then here we can add our own custom button. So if I refresh, you can see that that is hidden, and this is our custom button. Let's add some styling. Choose image and then on click. So if we save it, if I refresh, so this is our custom button. When we click on that one, then we have to trigger a custom event on the input field that we make it hide, right? So when we click on this one, we have to actually trigger a click event on this one, because this is hidden. We actually directly can't click on that one. So here we can just write one line, document dot get element by id, and this is our id. Let's pass it here, right? And then we can actually trigger click, right? Because without click, if I can show you, let's cut it here, refresh, and if I click on this button, you can see nothing is happening, because that file choosing window opens when we click on the input of type file field. So if I paste it here again and click on it, refresh the page and click on it, let's see what error we got. Document document, that was some spell error. So if I click on it, you can see that now we have got this window to select the image. If I click on it, but this image is not appearing here, so we have to actually call a JavaScript function, right? So let's add a JS function in the application.js. Because this read URL is not there yet, it is saying that read URL is not defined. So let's define a function in the application.js, and then in the here let's create a function, and then read URL, and it will get an input or element, right? And then let's console log to check whether it is triggered or not. If I refresh and click on it, we change it, it is still saying that URL is not, read URL is not defined, because this is a local function that is available in the application.js. Let's add this function in the window object to make it available, right? So let's refresh back and click on it, select the image, where you can see that now we got the console log file. So it means that now it is being triggered. So here we can check if input dot files means the user has selected some files, and input dot files of 0, right? Because user can have only one avatar, so we can create a reader is equal to new file reader, right? And then when this reader is loaded, reader dot onload, we can call a function and pass the event. Okay, and then when we got this, it's ready, we can actually set the image, and the image would be, let's see, let's set the some ID or class on it to access it. So if I go back and on the profile, and let's call add an ID, so in here after this style tag I can add an ID of profile underscore image, right? Let's copy that one and go to our application.js file and use that one, hash profile image, and then set the attribute of source, because that is the image and we have to change the source, and that would be e dot target dot result, right? And after this one we have to set reader dot read as data URL, right? And here we have to pass the files, input dot files of 0, right? So if we go back and refresh, then choose the image. If I select that one, let's see what happens. So let's see, it is saying that Popper.js core must start with this one. Let's see what's the error here. We can remove that one, we did not add that one. If we go back and refresh and then choose the file, you can see that now the image appears instantly. So I choose that one, I can choose another image, it will also show instantly, right? And then we can add a new submit button, and when this button is submitted, then we have to send the data back to the server, and then save this image in the user's avatar, right? So let's do that one. Here we can go back to our profile.html.erb, right? And then at the end, let's add a button of input, sorry, f.submit, and then title is save, and then let's add a class of, let's see, btn dash primary, and then bg dash blue. If I refresh, so we have the save button, and let's change this button color as well. So let's add a class, and then set the class to bg dash blue, right? If I refresh, and then also set the text dash white. And for that one, let's add one class of btn from the bootstrap. So you can see that this is now looking good. So if I click on it and then select the image, so let's clear the logs and then click on this save. Let's go back to the terminal and see what is happening. So it sends the patch request on this but it is saying that no route matches. So if we go back to our routes, we created a post route. Let's change it to patch, and let's go back here and refresh, and then choose an image again. So let's save it and then go back to the terminal and see. So now it is saying that save info action is not there. Let's create a, go to the user controller and then create a diff save info, right? And then in here we can actually find the user, because we are getting the user ID, and then we can also call this method find doctor before the save info, so we can find the doctor with the ID. So let's add this callback here, find doctor, right? And let's refresh. So what it is saying that if I refresh, find doctor action could not be found for the find doctor. Sorry, we have to pause actually save info. Yeah, if I refresh and then choose an image, and then form is, let's clear the logs and check what is happening. So if I save it, so here you can see that we got this parameter in the user and then avatar. We have actually received the file, and let's create a method of user or doctor params. Instead we can actually make it user param because the controller is user. So let's check, sanitize the params dot require of user and then permit. So currently we have only one field, that is avatar, right, and then permit that one. And here, so in the save info we can call doctor dot update and then pass the user params. Also check if the doctor dot params is returns true, otherwise we can, here we can actually redirect to where we can redirect on the same page and then show a success message. So the route would be this save info, and then we can copy this helper method and go back to the user controller and then save info user underscore path, and then where we can pass the doctor dot id, right, and then we can show the message to profile updated successfully. Otherwise let's copy the same one and go back here and then change the notice to alert, saying that error updating profile, right. So let's save it and go back and refresh. So now if I choose the image, and let's say if I choose this one and save it, we can see that profile updated successfully, and now the image is showing. If I refresh again, you can see the image, the default image is now gone because the user image is now saved. If I go back and run the raise console, so we can find the user by this id. User id is 3, so user dot find of 3, and right, and then call avatar and then check present, right, and then also call url. So for this one it is saying that please set active storage current url options. So it says that we can't generate the URL for the file name. So we don't actually need the URL because this file, the image URL is working fine. So let's go back and add the profile image here. So if I go to the index.html.erb and then here on this place, where is that with the name, not with this name, but let's add one div and copy all of this stuff in here. In this div, let's create one more div because we are going to use flex, and then in this div here we can call a d-flex, right, and then here we can actually add the image tag, and the image tag we can also check the same way. If the image is present, then show the image, the doctor image that is saved, otherwise show the default image. So let's say we can check if doctor dot avatar dot present, then show the doctor avatar, otherwise show the default dot png, right? So if I go back and refresh, so now you can see the default images are showing. So but their size is too big, so let's add some styling. We can add the same style, width of 70 pixel, and then height should also be 70 pixel, and then border dash radius to 50%, right? So if I go back and refresh, so you can see that the images are working fine. So let's add some gap dash 2 between this image tag and this text. If I refresh, so now it is looking good, but we have actually saved this image. Why it is not showing? Let's check. In the profile tab, let's see which doctor is logged in. So let's display their name as well here. So if I just write h1 and then display doctor dot name, if I refresh, doctor name is Ahmed, and then but that doctor is not showing here. So let's see why it is not showing. So in the database, if we go back here and user dot find of id3, but it means that is patient. So the current user that is logged in is a patient. So what we can do is, if I can log out and then log in with the patient, with the doctor. So let's log out. So currently we don't have the logout link, so let's add a logout link here. If I go to the nav bar and then in here, because when the user is signed in, we can show a link of logout link to, and then logout, and then here we can use our device method, destroy user session underscore path, and then data, and then in the turbo method would be delete, because the request type would be delete, right? And then let's add a class of nav link. So let's paste it here and I refresh. So you can see that we have now this logout link. We can click on it, signed out successfully, and now these buttons are changed accordingly. So now if I now click doctor and sign in as test@gmail.com, and then add a password. If I click sign in, let's check which doctor email we have, user.doctor, right? So let's sign in with the doctor 3. Let's copy the email, paste it here, and then set the password, login. So the doctor is now logged in. If we go to profile and change the picture, so let's change the image to, for example, this one, and save. So the image is now saved. If we go back to the doctor's page, so we have now some misspelling in the index page. Here we have to check present, right? And now if I refresh, you can see that the doctor image is now showing accordingly. So yeah, that's all for this video, and I hopefully I'm hopeful that you have learned something new. So I will see you in the next video. Yeah, keep watching and subscribe my channel.